Penn State 34, West Virginia 12. That's Sean Fitz, Nate Bauer. I'm Greg Pickel from Blue White Illustrated. Sean, I'll talk with you. I think it was about 2 weeks ago we got here to the stadium, and the game finally did end after a 2-hour, 19-minute weather delay. Your initial thoughts? Penn State moves to 1-0 after the spread started at 12.5 in April, dropped to 7.5. In the end, it was a pretty comfortable win.
Yeah, we had this conversation before. It's one of the more nonsensical lines I've seen. You look at West Virginia, what they were losing, what they were bringing back, and it just wasn't that team. I don't know if they caved to public pressure or whatever. I know guys pick West Virginia on game day. I know this is a phenomenal atmosphere. That's just not a great team. And Penn State showed that they were bigger, stronger, more aggressive, and they showed it from the start. They really took it to West Virginia. Even with the weather delay, they came right back out, got on top of it, and really from there it was never in doubt.
Yeah, Nate, I think that was one of the more impressive things to me, the fact that they were able to score before the half, which was a big deal, lose that momentum for 2.5 hours, and then score again coming out of the half to get it right back.
Dare I say that the weather delay helped them? Look, there was nobody else in the stadium. It was hot, and then it wasn't hot. And honestly, talking to some of those guys after the game, they talked about it rejuvenating them. It gave them a chance to kind of see what they did wrong, to think about it, to talk about it, and then to come out. I mean, you have a 6-minute drive to open the second half, and it was kind of a step on their throats moment. And I thought, in a lot of ways, propelled the defense the rest of the way, right? I mean, the defense, the defense was overexcited. There were a bunch of those offsides penalties, a bunch of the things that were happening from the defensive side of the ball were over-aggressiveness. But, they really just kind of snuffed out West Virginia for the most part.
Yeah, for Sean, you had a chance to talk to a couple guys on offense, Sal Wormley, Drew Allar. Certainly the conversation moving forward will be about the scoring plays of, 40 yards and obviously some longer ones. But just your thoughts on the offense, Andy Kotelnicki's first day.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Wallace stepped up. This is a guy we've been talking about for a long time, but, he hasn't been on the field to prove it.
Right.
Today he proved it. He was awesome. I mean, he was absolutely awesome from that first 5 minutes where everybody was awful with the fumbles and both sides. That was terrible.
Right.
But then Trey Wallace stepped up. Drew Allar got confident, and Drew Allar loves playing against West Virginia.
Sure does.
I mean, these are his two best games of his career against the Mountaineers. So he will certainly take that. But you look at that. You look at Nick Singleton's big plays. You look at the big play to Amari Evans at the end of the half. I mean, big plays are back. That's good. They're going to have to continue to prove it. Right. Of course, you got a MAC team next week, and you get back into the swing of things at the end of September in the Big Ten. Right. But that's a good first start for Andy Kotelnicki. I mean, 34 points isn't lighting the world on fire, but you look at how they did it. I think they did it pretty well. I go back to the first touchdown when they went for 2 right away. I mean, it showed Penn State wanted to be the aggressor, wanted to step on the throat. It didn't work out for them before, but you look at the thought process behind that, and you say, hey, they came here to stomp on them, and they did.
Yeah. James Franklin saying after the game that 2-point play was partially because they wanted to get Bo Prabula in, partially because they wanted to try a play they liked. Nate, final thoughts on this defense overall, wherever you want to go with it?
Can I talk offense?
Sure, go for it.
Just because I think that the Trey Wallace thing is super interesting, dating back to last year. It's almost when James Franklin kind of laced these comments through the course of last season as Penn State was struggling with its explosiveness about how Trey Wallace would change things for them. If he had been available, that it changes what the offense does. Amari Evans changes what the offense does. He talked about it in the postgame about him being fast, right? He can run. When you have dynamic playmakers on the field like that, I don't think it becomes a surprise then that Nick Singleton things free up a little bit, that he gets back into his groove a little bit. Drew Allar running the ball, a thing that didn't happen as frequently last year, that you understand. They drilled it into his head this offseason that he has to be able to carry the ball. And yes, the runs that he had today weren't planned necessarily, but they were so effective. They were so important to Penn State keeping ahead of the sticks, right, to being able to stay on the field. So, no, I just think that this is, if healthy, when healthy, what Penn State wants to look like. And if you consider that version of it today against West Virginia, having the opportunity over the next few weeks to get better, right, to kind of iron some of those things out, I just think it bodes fairly well for the type of team that Penn State can be this season.
Sean, final thoughts?
Yeah, we didn't talk much defense, but Jalen Reed was all over the field to begin with. KJ Winston was all over the field to begin with. Abdul Carter a little bit jumpy off the edge, but then some of those guys settled down. Smith Vilbert had a strip sack. You had a bunch of players. Linebacker depth still not great. Moving on to special teams, Sander Sahadak made every PAT. They ran him out there for the field goal. I mean, that's a tough miss. 46 yards from the left hash, the same left hash that we missed both against West Virginia last year.
Right.
They got to figure that out. They got to figure that out and step forward. I thought Riley Thompson was good again. Caden Saunders, by the way, did not. I don't think he played on offense. If he did, it was only a couple snaps. Came out, caught punts. They were extremely worried about what they were going to do in the punt return game without Caden Saunders out in there in camp for the most of August.
Right.
But for him to step up and do that, you don't realize how much that means for him to step up, and he's still injured, or he's still banged up, obviously. But to step in there, catch those punts safely, that's a big deal. That's
right.
Hidden yardage, and those things when you go on the road to an environment like this, and this was fantastic. It's those little things that add up. So those are just a couple of guys that jumped out to me. Defense, special teams, always leading the way for Penn State.
No doubt. August is over, but Penn State season just underway. A 34-12 win for the Nittany Lions in West Virginia. Sean Fitz, Nate Bauer. Check us out, BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. Running the flash sale. Get over there now, BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, for a good deal on Penn State football coverage, recruiting intel, team news, and more. We will talk to you next time from State College.